Alright, so I'm gonna start walking through this Articy stuff because, at first glance it looks like a lot, and it definitely adds up to be a lot. So I'm just gonna try to make it like easy to understand. So let's see. The first thing that we have to do here is basically you're always picking up where you left off last with like main storyline cutscenes. So let me move this over. I got my game screen. Move Unity over here. And just for now, I'll put the game screen in here. Cool. So after the battle that takes place in the main hall here, I'm basically picking up where we left off in a dialogue here. Usually I like mark it green, highlight it green whenever there's an Articy dialogue group for it. But we'll just go through that now. So first things first, I always start in Articy. So let me see. Let's go to chapter 1. Cool. All the mainline cutscenes, I usually just drag a dialogue node in. So these are like from the beginning of the chapter. Oh, there's also minor cutscenes in here. But yeah, let's not even worry about what all this stuff is. Let's just like add one, and then we'll see how it goes from there. So, add a dialogue node. Name it something that it'll also be named in the code. Usually I try to keep them the same. So, I'll just do post main hall battle. Nice. So now we have a dialogue node in it. Dialogue nodes basically hold in the dialogue fragments. So if we look at this one, zoom out a bit, we can see basically what happens in the cutscene. I'm gonna explain what all these dollar signs are. But you can also see like the actual dialogue itself. Cool, so let's build one. Oh wow, I thought this was it. I have like post mess hall battle, and now I have post main hall battle. Whatever. So from here, after I make the dialogue node, I just like, we can create the dialogue fragment. Who speaks first, right? Arthur says that seems to be the last of them. So you can literally just copy this in, copy that line, paste it in here, find the speaker. The speaker is Arthur. And you know that because we have Arthur here. So even just ignoring all the code and like the custom dialogue nodes with the dollar signs in them, we could just like start pasting in the dialogue itself, connect it together, and then from then on we'll start adding the code. You can even just like pseudocode it before it even exists. So let me see. Add another dialogue fragment. Who's talking now? Penelope's talking, I think. Drag to connect it. Yep, Penelope was talking. Next up is Arthur again. Connect it. Choose Arthur. I typically like resize the size of these things so that you can see all the text and try to keep it in line with the arrow. And oh yeah, something important. You want to drag the starting node. This basically tells the dialogue node where to start. So you connect it to the first fragment, and then it kind of just like nested nodes all the way until the end over here. Oops. But yeah, let's just do the easy part right now, which is like dragging and dropping all the dialogue in. Oh, he's cursing here. Alright. Add the connection. Jacques is speaking now. Paste it in. It's short enough so I don't have to resize it. Cool. Let's move on. Oh, so here we have a little action that we'll need to have code for. Sorry, I'm resizing my screen because I can barely see it. I should make it a little bigger since I'm recording. This part right here, Harold unsheathes his sword. We basically have to add an action that tells the parser in Unity, like, hey, stop with the dialogue for now and run a custom code action. And the way that works is typically I put it on top over the dialogue like this, and then you kind of have like the squiggly line that gets spawned. Cool. So Harold unsheathes his sword. So $sign is basically telling it where to look for this. If you want to see the code itself, like where this actually happens, I don't have Visual Studio open, so I'm just gonna like get it open real quick. Dialogue action parser. So the dialogue action parser is basically like a class that gets called in the dialogue manager. And yep, you see right here it's looking for the $sign. It's gonna try to run an action. If it runs in, basically it parses every dialogue node in Articy. If it runs a class 1 that starts with a $sign, then it interprets it as it being a function. Let me close all the other tabs just so we have a cleaner workspace. And the actual actions that they try to run will come from dialogue actions. There's a script called dialogue actions CS, and it's super long. It has like every single custom action. It has a few like baked in actions, like if you want somebody to walk to a specific position, if you want them to rotate. We have like basic actions for that stuff. But for stuff like playing a specific person's animation, you kind of need to write a custom scene action, cutscene custom action. And they're super short because we don't put the code for the actual action in the script itself. We kind of encapsulate it inside of the cutscene script. So we have a cutscene script. We make it a static instance, a singleton, and then we call the public IEnumerator, basically the public coroutine, and yield return it here. Like open the port cutlass, move out to the bathhouse, start the fort tour. All the stuff that kind of like actually does the movement and the complex setting of certain units and sprite character controllers, it all happens in here. So this is the file. You want to make sure whatever you have as a $sign here is also a function here, a public function with actual yielding return something. As an example, let's go to the fort main battle. Let's see if I have any custom actions. Look at direction, for instance, is one of the basic actions that aren't really custom, that you can use pretty much anywhere. So look at is more of the rotation based actions. You can go into that rotation based actions region, and then you have look at direction. This one, the code for it is actually there. So you have look at direction here, and then Articy, we have the $sign look at direction, and we pass in the arguments. Here, the arguments become the entity reference and the string direction to look. So what is Arthur PC? What is Harold PC? Where is all that coming from? It basically stands for playable character. So you're going to want to put To show you exactly where it's coming from, we'd have to go to the entities in Articy. So go to Arthur. Technical name. You'll see his technical name is Arthur underscore PC because he's a playable character. So it's basically his name underscore playable character. If we go to like a non-playable character like the Garrison Knight, you'll see Garrison underscore Knight NPC. So it basically references the technical name. And then we take the technical name and try to find an entity reference for it in Unity. If that makes sense. So reiterating, we have Arthur PC here, technical name. And inside of the fort main battle, we use his technical name so we can find him in the scene. Usually there's only going to be one Arthur, right? And the direction that he should be looking. Of course, we have another iteration of this called look at instance, which is a little more advanced. So say we have a bunch of entities who are like spawned of each other. Like we have a whole bunch of Garrison Knights, like 12 Garrison Knights. Which one do we want to be looking at which direction, right? So, I just realized we don't even use this argument. I could delete it. But, yeah, we don't use that at all. But yeah, if I wanted to get, there's an entity ID that's assigned to it in the dialogue manager. If I go to, let me show you what I'm talking about. I feel like I'm kind of spiraling, but I want you to understand. Let me see if I can find one. There's probably one in the last cutscene, the main hall battle cutscene. Oh, hold on, I gotta turn off the world cell editor because. Okay. So, looking past this whole mess of lists and stuff, let me collapse those. You'll see we have a entity to ID mapper, right? And we have the ID being 1, and it's referencing a specific person on the map, a specific instance of the Garrison Knight who was actually blocked. Because I have them just like all waiting out in the ether right now. Hold on, let me see if I can move them out. Just for show. So there's the main hall right here. And it's referencing this guy. So this guy is entity ID 1. So using that, you can give. Alright, I'm probably going too far into this, but you can basically give it the entity ID that's on the entity to ID mapper, and then you'll see like entity reference, Garrison Knight underscore Garrison underscore Knight underscore NPC. Give it the name of who they should look at, and then their ID. I don't use this too often. I usually use the look at direction or custom cutscene handler. But I just wanted to dive into that for a second. So hopefully that wasn't confusing. But yeah, the main thing to remember is that these are the technical names in Articy. And that's how we're able to find them in real time. Cool, so let's go back to doing this. So picking up where we left off, Harold needs to unsheath his sword. So let's do that. We can basically go in Articy and just do Harold, unsheath, sword. Have a custom action called that, right? And if I wanted to add this custom action into the code, I'd basically go into dialogue actions. Let me close this region real quick. I'll close that too. So we have all the cutscene custom actions in here. I'll just scroll to the bottom of this huge list. Public eye enumerator. Oh. Harold unsheath sword. I'm gonna put an S on it. So Harold unsheaths sword. And for now, we could just Yield return null. Cool. So when Articy hits this thing, hits this non-speaking dialogue fragment, it's gonna actually look and call this method right here. So that's how Articy and Unity are kind of connected with like these custom codes, actions. Cool. So let's just go back to the easy part. Herald unsheathes his sword. We can write that function later. And now we can go right back to the next dialogue fragment, and it'll literally pick up where it left off. Once it finishes running that coroutine, it's gonna move on to this next dialogue node. So and now Jacques is unsheathing his sword. So, oh yeah, I added a S, didn't I? Yes, I did. Now we can just add that there. Jacques unsheathed sword. I'm worried about like these names being like, this is something that could happen often in the course of a game, right? So that we name it something too broad, and then we need to do something similar in the future. So these function names might actually call a coroutine of a different cutscene, and then it break in that scenario. So I should probably rename these to be more specific, even at the cost of it being super long, like Herald unsheathed sword and fort or something. But for now, I'm just gonna leave it be. So for now, I'm gonna go ahead and mark these green. Herald unsheathes his sword. Copy paste this guy in. It's just a normal dialogue fragment. Sweet. So there's always going to be little things that happen in between these dialogue nodes, whether it's just like rotation, simple rotation based stuff, or if it's like more complex stuff that requires its own action that's not in the script, but we need to add it anyway. So that's when using your judgment comes into play. Make sure Arthur says, "Hold it, sheath your swords." Oh, there's more. Oops. Whoa. This one needs to be resized because I can't see all the text. Hold it, sheathe your swords, both of you. Harold is our ally. I may have perished if not for his aid. I'm gonna switch this around real quick. If not for his aid, I may have perished. That just reads better to me. Oh yeah, don't forget to save Command S, you know. Jacques, a man whose allegiance switches so swiftly cannot be trusted. Who can know when it will change again? Good point. So let's add that piece of dialogue of Jacques in there. It's probably going to be too long for the short bubble. Nope, it fits. Okay, let's add Harold's reply. Apparently Articy uses the British words, so it's just being annoying about the U and honor. Why don't you press your luck then? So I'm not even gonna write the code for these actions in the video. I think doing a general setup kind of deal would be easier here, and then we can always have another call of like implementation. I am gonna export this into Unity and then show you how to set it up though, once we added all the dialogue in Articy. It's getting long, isn't it? It goes by in like 30 seconds in the game, though. Wait, who's speaking again? Arthur speaking. Save it for the enemy. We don't have time to bicker amongst ourselves. Oh, there's more. This is going to be too big for that small bubble, so I'll have to resize it. A line break is usually enough to split the text. You don't have to do like 2 line breaks. Okay. Oh, this one gets a little crafty. Okay, so Jacques sheathes his sword. Oh, no, this one is actually a special dialogue, so it goes above. Jacques sheathes his sword. Go ahead and copy this. Head over to dialogue actions. Add yet another coroutine. Yield return null. So nothing is going to happen at all for now. Like I said, I'm leaving this code blank. I'll implement the actual movement later, but I feel like you've seen the cutscene code, so you have an idea of what's going on there. Okay, so here we have a conditional. So let's do condition. There's a condition node in there that we can use. We say go to the global variables, chapter 1, global variables dot killed Christian equals true. And then this is like, yes, true, and this one is false. So looking at the doc, let's see. If you didn't kill Christian, Jacques says, your mercy will be the death of us all. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and turn this to false, so that I could use the green node. Dialogue fragment. Jacques is going to say, your mercy will be the death of us all if you didn't kill Christian. When we do influence points, when we do like relationships with characters, we might have him like, he'll lose some influence points with Jacques. Again, if you did kill Christian, he says this. So let me add this in. He says this anyway. So since he says this anyway, we could be a little crafty here. So if he didn't kill Christian, we go straight here. If not, then if we didn't kill Christian, we go, he says the mercy will be the death of us all. And then he goes here. If we did kill Christian, he just goes straight to here. So be it. Mark my words, we will finish this later. I might move this up just so we can see for the sake of visibility. I don't want it to be high up where the code is, so I'll just lower this down a bit. We get it. We can see past this. Cool. So that's a conditional in Articy. This killed Christian variable is set earlier in the game. I'm sure you know where. Harold sheathes his sword. Okay. If you're lazy, you can really just copy this one and then just like paste it up here. Change this to Harold. And of course, you gotta add it to dialogue actions. I swear, if you know a better way to do this, rather than having to define a function every single time, please tell me, because by the end of the game, this script is gonna be fucking huge. And can you imagine how many dialogue actions are in the RPG? Like, it would be nice if I could like contain these, like each chapter or something, have like a chapter 1 dialogue actions, and then just like be able to put the methods in there inside of here, rather than for every single chapter, every single dialogue, it will define a new function. It's just annoying. So eventually I want to find a way to refactor this to something more modular or extensible. So we'll see if I could do that, or if you can come up with something. So we added the new dialogue action. Harold sheathes his sword. Pretty simple. What does he say next? Ready at any time, you bloody blowhard. I bet your bark is much worse than your bite. So let's add that in. Dialogue fragment. Paste. Harold is speaking. Go down from here, move it over so we get that squiggly action. That squiggly action. Alright, so Harold turns away from Harold. Jocks turns away from Harold. So I'm not in the Unity scene yet, so I don't know exactly which direction he's going to rotate, but that's like a general rotation function, so we don't have to add anything to Articy. We could just be like, look at direction equals the person who's going to be turning, Harold PC, his technical name, and the direction to turn. I'm going to say left. I'm going to assume that Jacques is to the left of Harold. So to look away from him, he's going to have to look to the left. He'd be looking right if he was looking at Harold. I'm just assuming this for now. And we could easily just change the direction inside of Articy pretty simply. Alright, let's go back to the dock. This one's sort of long. How long is it? Jacques turns away from Harold. You better count yourself lucky that you are in Arthur's good braces. There's an H in Arthur now. It was the writer's idea. So I was just like, whatever, you know. We'll put an H in there. He's like, what is Arthur? Why does Arthur not have an H in his name? A-R-T-U-R instead of A-R-T-H. Like, all right, we'll just put the H. He's like, he's the main character. His name matters. I'm like, all right, I guess. He is right, though. It does matter. So that's why I made a change. Zenobia is talking now. You two can hack each other to pieces later. We have a job to do. Always the voice of reason, Zenobia. Always the voice of reason. Oh, there's more. I keep missing these line breaks. Oops. Which means this one is going to have to get a little bigger. You two can hack each other to pieces later. We have a job to do. Every second in this juvenile posturing is another second away from my wine. Yeah, Zenobia is like super alcoholic. Usually if it gets too long, I'll just like split them up. Because I don't want to add another line break to this thing. So I'll split it to its own dialogue fragment. And she's just going to say, let's move on. Because all this was basically her dialogue. It is as she says. Let's hurry to the dungeons. Oh, there's another conditional in here. This one's a tricky one, huh? Alright. So we have another conditional. I guess it's another opportunity to see how conditionals work. If you didn't kill Christian, Penelope's going to walk over to Arthur and say, we cut Christian loose before making our way here. Do you think he's gone back to the main army? I saw him head south towards Bethany. Then we'll meet again. Let's finish our work here. So there's a dialogue action that's not in here. That's not in the doc that we should add. So if we revisit the beginning of this cutscene, I think Arthur tells the rest of the party to wait at the entrance to the fort until they go get the prisoner and their other companion, Benjamin. So let me see. Yep. That means we haven't much time. Remain here and guard the entrance. Harold and I will head to the dungeons and retrieve our mark. Right? Okay. So he basically told him to guard the entrance. So let's hurry to the dungeons. After this, we can have them, the rest of the party, except for... Actually, it can wait. You'll see what I mean at the end of this, though. So I'll do the conditional before I do that. I'll have that be the last code action that we add. So let's do the conditional. If you didn't kill Christian, Penelope walks over to Arthur. Okay. So add the condition. It's the same thing as before. Basically a Boolean check. Chapter 1. Dot killed Christian equals false. We'll use false. So if we didn't kill Christian, which is what it says, we can here, usually in the Unity scene, I would like have her walk to an actual given cell, but there's actually an action in here. Let me close this list. Movement related actions. Walk next to. Yep, I'm going to use walk next to. Walk next to takes two basically strings of technical names. So if you didn't kill Christian, we're going to add a code action. Walk next to equals. We're going to want, what was it? Penelope PC to walk next to Arthur PC. I'm gonna edit this real quick because when we have them walk next to someone, we're gonna want them to rotate to face the person they walk next to. I feel like that would be the ideal thing to do. So let's do controller dot on auto move complete plus equals delegate. So after after whoever finishes walking next to the person, let's get the direction. Direction equals direction utility dot get direction, and we just pass it controller dot transform dot position and target transform dot position. That'll tell us which direction to look at. I think that should be how it works. And then we basically have to do controller dot rotates this direction, and then controller dot set idle to actually make them rotate. Rotate will set the looking direction, but then we have to do set idle to actually play the idle animation so that it updates with the new rotate direction. Otherwise it won't. So cool, this is just a small method. Like the person will walk to the place that you tell them to walk to, and then he'll just turn to face the target. Just added that in real quick. Alright, so let's go back to the doc. If you didn't kill Christian, go to Articy. If kill Christian equals false, Penelope walks over to Arthur. Walk next to Penelope, Arthur PC. We cut Christian loose, and now we just go back to normal dialogue. I'm gonna keep it up here. Who is this? Penelope says we cut Christian loose before making our way here. Do you think he's gone back to the main army? Do you think he's gone back to the main army? I saw him head south towards Bethany. Then we'll meet again. Let's finish our work here. And that reminds me, Christian, we have to add him to the character document. He's not there. Oh, I think I might have made a mistake. Penelope says this. Okay, I think that finishes. You'll see how the choices you make kind of influence what dialogue we get. And this is basically a way to implement that. So, if you didn't kill Christian, you get this extra bit of information, and then we go to the end. If not, then we just go straight to the end. And I think that does it for this cutscene. So, I would test it. This video is kind of long, so I'm just gonna quickly plug it in. I don't expect it to work because these all yield return null. So. And there's more stuff to do. So I'm just going to show you how to add this dialogue into Unity, which is just the interesting part. So I quick export. Oh, looks like I gotta set my export path. Since we updated our repo to get the place to save has updated as well. Alright, so we're exporting into Unity. It's taking a while. Alright, it's done. And you go to Unity. Oh, it starts as auto updating. Awesome. Sweet. I'm gonna move these guys back to where they were. In the ether over there. Cool. First thing I'm gonna do is go to cutscenes, chapter 1, fort interior, and create a new cutscene called post main hall battle cutscene. I really hope none of these, like, we don't have duplicate cutscene names and stuff, because I imagine there's going to be a lot of main halls throughout the game. But we'll cross that road when we get there. So we have our script. Let me just open it up real quick. Make it inherit from cutscene. We're probably going to want this one to have a singleton instance. Public static blah instance. When in doubt, copy from an existing one. Scripts, core, cutscenes, chapter 1, for interior. Let's just do post main hall battle. Oh no, that's the one I'm in. Mess hall. Whoa, I zoomed in quite close. Alright, that's the... We might have some serialized fields that we want to set, but in this case I'm just going to copy the init. I mean, the code doesn't really matter at this point. We're just trying to plug it in so that we can get it into Unity. We set the instance when it's initialized. Upon cutscene complete, allow the player to move. We get the following to start working, and then we mark the cutscene as complete. That's enough to at least put it in the scene. And from there, we work on it. Cool, so let's go back to Unity. It's compiling. So in fort interior, on the entry point, I have set up cutscenes for fort interior script, which basically sets up all the cutscenes and initializes them. It's super small. Right, so it sets the main player, it finds it, and sets it to Arthur, and then initializes the cutscene. So I can easily add a main scene, create an empty object, call it post main hall battle cutscene. There's no trigger for this one. There's no like trigger to walk into the trigger, because it'll be automatically triggered by the end of the battle in the main hall. So it'll be like campaign manager upon campaign 1 post main hall battle cutscene dot play. Pseudocode in my head. Alright, so boom, drag it in there. Current dialogue, scroll to the bottom and you'll always see the latest dialogue. So post main hall dialogue. This tells us whether to show it as with map, the dialogue boxes that just go on the map, or with the portrait. I think I'll just leave it at map. Well, yeah, you can see how you can see the post main hall battle dialogue in there, which is the same thing in Articy as this dialogue right here that we just wrote. pretty long sequence. But it's like Legos. You just build block upon block. Yeah, so from here, I'm in a good place to basically, if I wanted to get it to queue, I would go to the main hall battle cutscene. Scroll to the bottom, because I think that's where it is. Ah, there it is right there. It's commented out already. Campaign manager dot upon campaign 1. We are gonna do post main hall battle cutscene dot instance dot play. So it'll play the cutscene right after you win the battle. So there's no collider trigger here. It's actually triggered by another script. Now, oh yeah. So in the entry point, we have the setup cutscenes. We're gonna add the new cutscene that we just put in here, so that it can be initialized properly. What is it? Post main hall battle. There it is. Yep. And that's basically it. From there, I could probably start testing it and stuff, but we got a bunch of null coroutines, so I actually gotta like start using World Cell Editor to get all these points to be like, okay, let's put a body here, let's put a body here, then Penelope's gonna walk here, and then they're gonna rotate looking this way. So from then on, it's just writing code. But this is enough of a start to like see the connection between Articy and Unity. All right. So I'm gonna save, and I'll probably continue working on this after the video. I hope that was helpful. If I like went too fast, or if you're still confused about anything, just hit me up in the chat and we'll go over it. All right.